Hi everybody, welcome to Shell Lectures. So in this video we'll be talking about Le-Chatelier's principle. So what is Le-Chatelier's principle? According to this principle, if a system is at equilibrium and it is subjected to a change of concentration, temperature or pressure, then the equilibrium is shifted in such a way as to nullify the effect. That is, whenever there is a reversible chemical reaction at equilibrium and you change the concentration of either of the reactants or products, or you change the temperature of the reaction, or you change the pressure of the reaction, the equilibrium will actually shift to the direction which will actually just balance, or it will nullify the change which has been produced in the reaction. Okay, so that is what this principle says. So first of all, let us know about change in concentration. So when we increase the concentration of reactants, for example, we have a reaction something like this. Let's take it as an example. So when I increase the concentration of reactants, that is when I increase the concentration of hydrogen molecule here, what will happen? The equilibrium will favor the forward reaction. That is, it will actually favor the formation of the two hydrogen atoms. When I increase the concentration of hydrogen, forward reaction takes place. What if I increase the concentration of the products? The backward reaction takes place. That is, equilibrium shifts towards the left. That is, equilibrium favors the backward reaction. Okay, so that is what is about change in concentration. What about change in pressure? So for this also let us talk about this. So when I increase the pressure on a system, for any reversible system, when I increase the pressure, what will happen actually? Volume decreases. Am I right? When I increase the pressure, volume decreases. So the number of moles per unit volume obviously will increase. Am I right? Volume decreases. Okay. But per unit volume, the number of moles will increase. Am I right? As the volume decreases, for 1 unit volume, the number of moles will increase. So what will happen? According to Le-Chatelier's principle, the equilibrium will shift towards the direction in which the decrease in number of moles. So here, if I increase the pressure, where the number of moles is decreased, here actually the number of moles is actually balanced here. So you can just when I increase the pressure, what will happen? The equilibrium will shift towards a direction in which the decrease in number of moles, that is, where the number of moles is decreasing, there the pressure will get shifted. If there is no change, then a pressure change does not affect the equilibrium. Okay, if there is no change, then the pressure will not affect the equilibrium. What about the temperature? So there are two kinds of reactions based on temperature, as we know earlier: exothermic and endothermic. Exothermic is heat releasing and endothermic is heat absorbing. So for endothermic reaction, if you increase the temperature, it will favor the forward reaction. And for exothermic reaction, if you are increasing the temperature, it will favor the backward reaction. Okay. So based on this, let us do an AIPMT question. It's given here. N2 plus 3H2 gives you 2NH3 plus heat. They have asked you the equilibrium shifts in forward direction. So this must shift in this direction. When does this happen? By increasing the concentration of ammonia. Ammonia is actually here. When I increase the concentration of this, I am increasing the concentration of the product. So this reaction will only take place. Am I right? So the equilibrium will shift towards the backward reaction. But they have asked us forward. So this is not the answer. Let's do with 2. By decreasing the pressure. So when I decrease the pressure, what will happen? It will move towards the number of moles which is increasing. Am I right? So when I increase the pressure, the equilibrium will shift towards the place where number of moles is down. And when I decrease the pressure, the equilibrium will shift towards the place where number of moles is up. So that is it's high. So here where the number of moles is high, here. Am I right? So when I decrease the pressure, this will happen. So backward reaction only occurs. Forward reaction doesn't occur. So 2 is also wrong. When we talk about 3, by decreasing the concentration of nitrogen and hydrogen concentration, if you are increasing only, you can favor the forward reaction. Only then ammonia will be formed and heat will be released. Am I right? So when you decrease this, that's not possible. So 3 is also wrong. Obviously 4 is the right one, but let's take it. By increasing the pressure. So what happens when I increase the pressure? It will move towards the place where number of moles is lower. Am I right? When I increase the pressure, it will move towards a place where the number of moles is lower. So here it is 4. So when I increase the pressure, it will move here. So this is shifting in forward direction. Also decreasing temperature. Here it's an exothermic reaction because heat is released. I told you that for exothermic reaction, when we decrease the temperature, when we increase the temperature, backward reaction is favored by the equilibrium. So when I decrease the temperature, forward reaction is favored by the equilibrium. Okay, so let's check the answer. 17th question. Yeah, the answer is 4. Okay. Now let's learn the next thing, that is about physical equilibrium. So physical equilibrium, here the change in only the physical states of the substances without any chemical change. So only physical change. Ice water system, ice becomes water, am I right? So this is an endothermic reaction, that is heat is absorbed. Okay, when ice absorbs heat, it changes into water. Also volume decreases, am I right? So when I increase the temperature, because it's endothermic, so I have to give some amount of heat to this. So when I increase the temperature and when I increase the pressure, the forward reaction will be favored. When I increase the pressure, volume will decrease. So actually ice absorbs heat, so it's endothermic, so I must give temperatures heat, so increase in temperature, and volume decreases, so I must give increase in pressure, so that water is formed. Now let's look at water vapor system. So water becomes vapor. So when the temperature, actually vaporization of water is also an endothermic process, so heat must be given here, right? And condensation of vapor into water is an exothermic. That is, this process is exothermic, this process is endothermic. So if it wants to shift towards right, what should I do? Endothermic. So I have to give heat. So temperature must be increased. Whereas from right to left, it's exothermic. So when I decrease the temperature, when I increase the temperature, because that's exothermic, when I increase the temperature, backward reaction is possible. When we talk about the pressure, so when the pressure is increased, what will happen? Volume is decreased, am I right? So which of these volume is actually decreased? So what will happen? When I increase the pressure, it will favor the rate of condensation of vapor into water. That is, vapor will form water. When I increase the pressure, volume is decreased. That is why vapor will form pressure. Okay, and all these conversion of water into vapor, so from this we can come to know that high temperature has to be given, only then this process can take place, and then low pressure has to be given, only then, what is that? The condensation of vapor to water can. Then when we talk about the solubility of gases, gas plus water as solute and solvent gives you a solution. So they have talked about the effect of pressure here, that is, solubility of gases increases with increase in pressure, okay, which dissolves in a solvent with volume decrease. So when we increase the pressure, obviously volume will get decreased. So this is nothing but Henry's law. So they have just given the effect of pressure on solubility of gases in liquid. So the last topic in this chapter which we have to go through is about reaction quotient. So when we assume a reaction like this, and when we write the reaction quotient, that is nothing but reaction quotient is something which can be applied at any state of reaction. It doesn't matter whether it's equilibrium or non-equilibrium condition, it doesn't matter. So in that case, I can write it as same formula only, C power n1 into D power n2 divided by A power m1 into B power m2. Reaction quotient, it can be applied at any stage of reaction, whereas equilibrium constant can be applied only at the equilibrium state. Okay, so when Q is equal to K, it obviously means that it's in equilibrium state. If Q is lesser than K, then the forward reactions rate is increasing. Okay, if Q is lesser than K, then the rate of forward reaction increases, and if Q is greater than K, then the rate of backward reaction increases. So now, from the vapor density, we are going to calculate the degree of dissociation. So we know this phosphorus pentachloride, it dissociates to form PCl3 and Cl2. So the formula which we can use here is alpha is equal to dt minus d naught by d naught is equal to d minus d by d. So D, the capital D is nothing but normal vapor density, whereas the small d is the observed vapor density. Normal vapor density is nothing but the theoretical, the real, the principal vapor density, whereas the small d is actually what we observe by means of doing experiments. Okay, so D minus d by d. Alpha is the degree of dissociation. We know that vapor density's formula is molecular weight by 2. So alpha is equal to D minus d by d. Capital D minus small d by small d. So when we talk about the final formula for generally, if a reaction something which is like this, N1A gives N2B plus N3C, then the formula which you have to write is alpha is equal to N1 divided by delta N. Delta N is nothing but the stoichiometric sum of the stoichiometric coefficients of the product, that is N2 plus N3 minus the sum of stoichiometric coefficient of the reactant, that is N1. So N1 by delta N into D minus D by D. Instead of dt, D naught and all, you can write capital D minus small d by small d, as we have written here. Okay, here we have just added N1 by delta 1. So for any these kind of reaction, you can find the degree of dissociation using the vapor density itself. Okay, vapor density itself, we can do that. The only thing which must be added to the previous formula is N1 by delta N. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done so far. Don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified of all the further videos which I am going to upload in my channel. Like and share this video to whomever you know. Thank you so much for watching.